YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back. Less than a month away until the 2023 NFL Draft. We are in the month of April. I got an updated mock draft. We got some interesting trades in this one, realistic trades. We're going to go through 2 rounds. Our Twitter subs, of course, we'll get the 3rd round, plus some more bonus content here. So really excited about the upcoming draft content. Will be live during day 1 of the NFL Draft, and then on Twitter with analysis on each pick for days 2 and 3. So make sure you follow that Twitter. We do have a TikTok now. Been posting more shorts on YouTube and the same videos on TikTok. So links pinned in the comments for all of that. Join us on Discord, link down below for that. And we have our sponsors, GLD Shop, have their Cowboys chain on right now. They have more NFL logos and plenty more. Liquid IV has a new flavor. Walk the Mock is a very cool draft simulator. Some of our Twitter subs will be joining us for a member mock draft through Walk the Mock. So check all that out. Make sure you like, subscribe to notifications on, because we have the full NFL coverage here at the GOAT House. Mock draft time. So you see there's a trade that I have with the 3rd overall pick, and we'll get to that in a second. That's a big one. But I got CJ Stroud first to the Panthers. Still there's a lot of buzz about Bryce Young recently. I'm not buying into that. I believe it'll be CJ Stroud. I think a lot of people believe that. So I'm gonna stick with that the whole way. I'm not gonna change that. I mean, I'm not saying 100% it's CJ Stroud. Pretty close to that, though. And then second, be Bryce Young. And I've heard some reports actually earlier today that the Texans could pass on a quarterback at 2 and then, maybe take one a little later with a second first-round pick. It's tough to believe everything you hear at this time of the year. I'm sticking with Bryce Young. I think that's that type of quarterback that they're looking for there. I know there will be the durability concerns with him, obviously, but big-time quarterback, tough to pass on there. We'll be able to do enough to get that balanced offense, I think, with Bryce Young, the running game with Dameon Pierce and the passing game to be very successful there. But yeah, who knows? Maybe they pass on a quarterback here. Maybe they take one with that next. I doubt it, though. I'm kind of sticking with my gut feeling here. I think most people's gut feeling. And then the 3rd overall pick, I had a trade. We've kind of discussed in the past the Cardinals, the possibility of them trading the 3rd overall pick. And we went ahead and did it here. There's been a little bit of buzz about the Titans perhaps trying to move up to get that quarterback of the future, perhaps, because Tannehill, they're maybe got one more year left with him, and maybe there's been some talk that they can cut or trade him now. I'm not really counting on that happening, but Titans do have other needs, though. They did help out their offensive line in free agency a little bit. They do need some receivers, though. If they do get that rookie quarterback, they're going to need to get him some help. So, but I had the Cardinals and the Titans making a deal here. It's something that could possibly happen. So the 3rd overall pick and the 11th overall pick are swapped. The Cardinals are getting the Titans next year first, so a little bit of a risk for the Titans. And then a 3rd this year and a 3rd next year for the Arizona Cardinals, who kind of in some sort of rebuild mode. They're going to need more picks. It is tough kind of taking yourself out of the Will Anderson sweepstakes here. That's the tough part for the Cardinals. But they're going to have 2 first-round picks next year in what looks like going to be a pretty good draft. So that's a bonus there for them. And then we'll talk about who I have the Titans taking now, and then we see I have another trade coming up as well. Really like what the graphics guy did with this, but the Titans trading up ahead of the Colts to take Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida, ultimate boom or bust prospect this year. Obviously, it's risky to take him this early, but to trade up and take him this early, super risky. But I could see multiple teams possibly being interested in doing that. But the Titans grabbed Richardson. They were obviously interested in Malik Willis last year, in the 3rd round. No risk in that. Similar style quarterback, but a lot more upside, better arm, a little more comfortable, a lot more comfortable in the pocket, bigger body too. So the Titans could like that style of quarterback here, but just a better one, better now, better upside as well. So they get their quarterback of the future there, and then take maybe who the Colts want away from them, their division rival. And the Colts, this is tricky too, because there's reports that they really like Will Levis. I think that's kind of true and false in a way. Like I think they like other quarterbacks more. I think they would take Anthony Richardson, but maybe open to taking Will Levis. Maybe the idea of them getting their 4th best quarterback doesn't sit well with them, though. But yeah, it's tricky. I could see it's tricky with Will Levis. I can see him going later because when I watch Will Levis, I think I think this is too early. I think it's too risky. You can see the upside, but kept getting a little beat up last year. So is that something that continues to pop up? But lacking that touch. On the ball, obviously, he really doesn't know his own arm sometimes, and I do worry about that. But so could other teams or most teams see exactly what I'm seeing, and maybe he drops a little bit? Sometimes I think that, but he does have the upside, kind of the prototype quarterback you're looking for. And then teams might just believe, like, all right, if we just give him a better offensive line than what he had in Kentucky, which is pretty much every offensive line in the NFL, then he's going to be good. And I can understand that argument there, but because that Kentucky offensive line was pretty brutal. So the Colts, and it feels like, they have Gardner Minshew right now, and that's it. So it feels like, well, of course, they have Sam Ehlinger as well, but it feels like they are really insisting on getting that quarterback in the future. Maybe the Lamar discussions pop back up. But for now, we go Will Levis for the Colts, who I can see being picked at 3 or 4, or I can see dropping a little bit further than what people thought, maybe in the middle, or I'm not going to be late first, but maybe pushing it there, so that could be interesting. Seahawks go Will Anderson, obvious pick here. The best defensive player in the draft, and maybe the best overall player in the draft. That instant impact pass rusher on the outside will fit the Seahawks defense, and they did a very good job in free agency. Still need that edge rusher, though, but they're in prime position to get one either with this pick or the other pick in the first round, or even the second round in the draft, so they kind of set themselves up pretty well. I have the Lions. I'm going back to giving the Lions Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon. That's kind of disappeared. It kind of doesn't exist anymore because the Lions added some defensive backs, specifically some corners in free agency. But the more I think about it, the more I don't, I'm thinking that doesn't mean they're set. Like they add Cam Sutton, who I like, is going to play outside corner, but for a lot of his career, he was an inside guy. Emmanuel Mosley on a 1-year deal has played a little bit of inside-outside, but he hasn't finished a season in a while. Again, it's only a 1-year deal. Okuda's going to be a free agent if they don't pick up his option. Jerry Jacobs, an underrated player. Aruarie left, obviously. So they could get better. They can get better at the position for now and for the future. Aaron Glenn, I think he's going to fall in love with a guy like Christian Gonzalez. Maybe give him that Marshawn Lattimore vibes from when Glenn was with the Saints. So Gonzalez, the total package type of corner. I think, with him and Sutton and having those other pieces to mix in, I think you're set, for a long time at the cornerback position. So I thought that made some sense, actually. I think they're really going to like Christian Gonzalez. So Lions a little tricky. I mean, they could go... Do they take a shot on Jalen Carter? Do they go pass rusher? That's really not talked about a whole lot. They have quite a few free agents popping up next year, but they got a couple of young studs out there, obviously. It's too early for any of the linebackers. They wouldn't take a tight end here, so it could big-time wild card could be a guy like Peter Skoronski. They got Glasgow, though. They lost Evan Brown, so that's just a big-time, that's a dark horse pick there. So do they move up for a quarterback? If the right quarterback falls to them, do they take him, kind of get ready for the future? So the Lions are a little tricky. You kind of can argue these different routes, but do any of them make like 100% sense? Gonzalez makes the most sense right now. Raiders doing their homework on the pass rushers. I noticed they actually have a visit with Tyree Wilson, top 30 visit. So I think they're, Chandler Jones probably going to be around for one more year. They'll probably cut him after. We'll see how he does. But the way that contract was structured, and he was underwhelming last year. So building that edge duo of the future at Crosby and Wilson can make some sense. And the defense just got to get better, plain and simple. They didn't do enough work on the defensive side of the ball this free agency. They've added some pieces, obviously, throughout the roster, but that defense needs to get better. So you get better with a guy like Wilson. And I could see them playing Crosby, Wilson, and Jones all at the same time. I think Wilson could move around a bit. I think Crosby, you can line him up in different spots as well. We've seen that in the past. Then I have another trade here. The 8th overall pick was traded. The Patriots are coming up to take the Falcons pick. And they also will get 225, which is a late pick. The Falcons are going to get, since they don't get a second round, obviously there's no future first involved with an 8 and 14 swap. That's obvious. Could there be a second round pick involved? Possible. The value didn't really match up with for me. So you get a pretty good list of picks here: 76, 107, and 135. So the Falcons stock up on picks here and don't move back too far. And there's some guys I like for the Falcons back in that range at 14, and they stay put. They would stay put for realistically, we're going to say they'd say put for Will Anderson, but he's not going to be there. So realistically, the two guys that went right ahead of the Falcons, Christian Gonzalez, I think they'd be highly interested. Tyree Wilson, I think they'd be highly interested in. They could stay put and take a Lucas Van Ness here. Maybe a tiny bit early, maybe not to some people. But I like some guys for the Falcons in that range of 14. Multiple guys, actually. Maybe tough to pick between. They'll know who they're taking. And they get a pretty decent haul of picks. No second round, but you get a haul of picks here. So I thought that made some sense here. And it makes a lot of sense for the Patriots, in my opinion, because they still need a starting tackle. So they go up and get the top guy in the draft, and Paris Johnson Jr., hop over the Chicago Bears, hop over other teams, the Titans, teams like that could use that tackle. Because if they sit around, we were kind of playing with this, the idea of this in like the last mock, if they sit around, Paris Johnson's going to be gone. Maybe, some of the other guys are going to be gone as well. Then Peter Skoronski could be there, but he is going to be projected as more of a guard for most teams. Do they want that guy? Maybe if they move Michael Onwenu out to tackle full time, then maybe they would like Skoronski. So they're going to have to move up and get their guy. Because I really think they're looking for a left tackle too. Do they want a guy that's generating a lot of buzz and Darnell Wright? If they're looking for a right tackle, maybe. But they have Trent Brown, who played some left, but he was always better at right tackle. Riley Reif played some left, but he's better at right tackle. Calvin Anderson, same thing. So their free agency, I think they're going to go bigger in free agency when it comes to tackle, but they kind of got what I call kind of insurance policies. Guys that are cheaper, have experience starting, and they're better than what we had last year, maybe. Isaiah Wynn comparison, maybe. But it's kind of just in case we don't get our guy in the draft. But I see an opportunity. If the Raiders pass on Paris Johnson Jr., go up to 8. You don't have to give up your second round pick. You get a sure thing. Protect Mac Jones, because Bill O'Brien in there, I think that offense could take a huge step up actually. And they had Juju. But you gotta get your quarterback protected. So that made a lot of sense to me for the New England Patriots. So I like that trade there, and it makes a lot of sense for the Falcons if Gonzalez and Wilson are off the board. I really think they would like Gonzalez. I really think so. And then moving on to the next 8 picks. So the Bears take Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle from Georgia, who could slide a little bit. Reports came out just maybe an hour or two ago that Jalen Carter will actually not be. He will be declining visits with teams outside of the top 10 because him and his agent believe he is a top 10 pick and will go in the top 10. I think that's stupid, just plain and simple, because teams could trade up into the top 10. He is a talent, keyword talent, worthy of trading up for. I know there's off the field stuff, so that brings up another debate. Will a team do that? So the teams could trade up in the top 10. So if you're not visiting with teams, like I think the Jets would love to have him. I think that the Jets would love to have Jalen Carter. They're picking 13. Now you won't visit with them. So, and that's just one team example there. Once you start getting further down, teams would probably be interested. So, and then if he does slide, I think it's possible. We barely have him inside the top 10. If he does slide out, he's relying on teams that he wouldn't visit with to take him. So that kind of pushes him back to, maybe the Seahawks, their second pick, because he would visit with them because they have the 5th pick. It's kind of silly. Unless he's setting himself up to go to a team like Seattle, maybe he's okay with dropping back a little bit. Or the Lions pick again. So those two teams, I guess, if he starts slide, are teams to look out for. But the Bears could be looking for tackle, offensive tackle, D tackle, could be looking for pass rusher here. I think a wild card could be a cornerback. I know they got 2 young ones there, but Jalen Johnson maybe wasn't as good as he was in the past, but I still like him. I think he's a starting corner, but mainly it's it's the other group of guys. Like, do you want to put Kyler Gordon in the slot, or do you want to put him outside? That's the debate when it comes to corner for the Bears. That could be a wild card. I think if they go tackle, I think another wild card would be Darnell Wright, which no one's talking about up here, which I kind of put him up here. We'll talk about in a little bit. But too good to pass on Carter. Eberflus is going to value the interior defensive line. So they grab Carter here. Tremendous value. Can he stay out of trouble off the field? Nolan Smith to the Eagles. I keep having this, but it's an interesting one because will they view him as maybe too light, too thin? Reddick's on the thinner side, but do they want something different from Reddick on the opposite side? So this is one where I can see them, because this is Again, it's kind of like a Reddick type player, a little bit, like a Josh Sweat too, but they're always looking for pass rushers. I mean, Nolan Smith's a good one that can stop the run. He's going to be way more productive against the pass in the NFL. I can guarantee you that. So the Eagles will like his talent, but they also might just not be interested because, they want something, a little more physical guy on the other side. So maybe they just have him off their board in the first round because of that, or just in general because they're looking for something specific, maybe like a Myles Murphy perhaps. So this one I can debate with myself, but Nolan Smith to me is a top 10 player. You cannot go off his stats in college. You cannot. Georgia had him kind of just sitting and reading or dropping back at times. He plays way bigger than he is. He's really good in run support. So I like that for the Eagles. Then I thought about Jaxon Smith-Njigba there for the Eagles, getting that slot receiver to pair with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Scary. But then the Cardinals traded back with the Titans we had in the beginning of this video, and have him grabbing that corner, Devon Witherspoon from Illinois. And they could go, if Nolan Smith dropped one more spot, they could go with Nolan Smith, could be the Hassan Reddick for Jonathan Gannon perhaps. But they go corner here. Gannon will value the corners like he did with Philly. They had a top cornerback duo. That was kind of the main thing of that defense. Reddick kind of was great, was a big-time factor, kind of gets the spotlight. But I think the corners locking things down, different coverages were huge for them. So he grabs that corner here. Do they want to? That's the tough part with the Cardinals. Do they want to trade down at all because Will Anderson's there or Christian Gonzalez is there, or do they not want to trade down too far to grab a guy like Christian Gonzalez or Tyree Wilson? But they get down and they grab Devon Witherspoon, who I think they'll like, a guy that can play that cover 2 and cover 1 for Gannon. Physical guy, can come up and hit, come up and tackle. He does have his whiffs sometimes, so some people get excited about watching his highlights maybe because they are something to get excited about, but then you do see the negatives with some guys like that, but a very solid physical corner here that plays way bigger than he is. Texans grab Lucas Van Ness, pass rusher for D'Amico Ryans. I've had this before too. Seems like a good fit. A guy that you can mainly play off the edge, but you can move inside at times if you want to. I don't think we'll see him do as much of that as he did in college. But I like the fit there. And the Jets is where I might surprise a little bit here. The Jets go Darnell Wright, the tackle from Tennessee, and they definitely could go Broderick Jones here. I think if Jalen Carter starts to slide, they could be interested in a guy like him. But Wright has been getting a lot of buzz lately. Been hearing great things about him. There's people that actually have him as the top tackle in the class, and he is good, very good for Tennessee. I was watching Hendon Hooker, and the offensive line was actually worse than I thought it was, but not Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright is very solid, and he fits that right tackle spot. It's gonna depend on what the Jets want to do. Who do they want to play where? Do they want to play Dwayne Brown in his original position at left tackle? There was some talk about him playing right tackle. And then Mekhi Becton, original spot left tackle. Some talk in the past about him playing right tackle. They have Max Mitchell, young. They could get better from him though. But I think they can, with this scenario, I think they would start Dwayne Brown at left tackle and Darnell Wright at right tackle. So that's a player to watch out for going earlier than you think, and could be one of the very top tackles taken off the board here. So the Falcons traded back with the Patriots. We talked about that to 14 because some of the top guys they might like are off the board, but there's some guys I really like for them. I think they would like here at 14. Myles Murphy, who actually tomorrow, which is Tuesday the 4th, he will have like his own pro day at Clemson, which is big. Excited to watch that. He's more athletic than what people give him credit for. He's a big body guy too, so he can help himself. He could go earlier in this even, but they need a pass rusher so bad. But I do like Deonte Banks for them if they're looking for a corner. I like the Maryland corner a lot for them. And Peter Skoronski could be that wild card because it still feels like they're looking for another guard. Maybe they don't want to, because they valued Lindstrom so high with that contract. Maybe they don't want to value another guard this high. But I know they are kind of secretly looking for another one. So they could go Skoronski, who was a tackle, but he's projected to move to guard. It could be a damn good one. But I like Murphy. They need edge help so bad. Murphy fits, and he's probably going to light it up at his workout, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. Maybe by the time you're listening, it already happened. So it's a big body guy. I like the get off. I like the physicality. He needs more to his rush plan. His game. It's kind of the same plan. Let me just get off. And I love the get off. It's one of the biggest things with edge rushers. And then we just pretty much just bull rush right at the tackle. So he needs to add a little bit more. But I do like him for the Falcons. So the Packers is kind of a perfect situation for the Packers. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, best receiver in the class, drops to 15 to the Green Bay Packers, who he could go. I mean, he could go 10 to the Eagles. He could go to the Texans at 12, possibility. But the Packers definitely could use a true slot receiver, and they get one here, the best receiver in the class. And they're usually a little hesitant to take the receivers here, but I think they would do it in this case. Really good route runner, understands coverages, knows how to find and sit in that soft spot of zones. Just, the footwork and the separation is key there. So that would be a big-time pick for the Packers. Peter Skoronski to the Commanders would play guard for them. They could use another guard in there. Maybe they're looking for a left tackle. Maybe they don't like Charles Leno for now or for the future. It's a possibility, but I think they would like Skoronski for guard in this scenario here. Next group of picks, and we see a trade that we'll talk about in a second here. But the Steelers, this is kind of a perfect situation here. Broderick Jones ends up sliding a little bit just because I almost swapped Darnell Wright and him. I keep hearing some really good things about Darnell Wright. Teams love him. He's going to go earlier than people think. I don't really get the sense that it's smoke, because we're not sitting here saying it's this team loves Wright. That would feel like smoke to me. So this would be great for the Steelers to get their left tackle here at 17. It's a team that could move up to make sure they get their right tackle, but one could fall in their lap like this. The issue is Darnell Wright, right tackle. Will they feel good about moving him to left tackle? So that could be the reason why maybe they move up a little bit. If they feel like they have to. In this scenario, they wouldn't have to. The Lions take Kalijah Kancey, the defensive line from Pittsburgh. Doesn't have the measurables, doesn't have the length, but he was dominant. He's a freaky dude, minus, the freaky length. He's a freaky dude, and he's been very productive from the inside, playing, lining up at 3 technique, lining up at, over the guard. You can line him up at the DM position. So the Lions need some help on the interior, specifically, getting a guy like Kancey. The issue is this is kind of like a Pashaw type of guy. So are they good with having two? But I think if they liked Pashaw that much, they're really going to like Kancey. I like Pashaw a lot too. Kancey's like a better version of him. Definitely better in terms of getting after the quarterback. So the Lions grab Kancey. And then you have the trade. Cowboys are going to move up to 19. The Buccaneers back to 26. The Buccaneers in some sort of retool. They could be looking to get more picks. So they're going to swap those picks. Not super far movement. We're talking kind of late first. The Buccaneers are going to add a 3rd and a 4th. Remember, the Cowboys already traded a couple 5ths, and they still have a 5th. But they traded a couple 5ths while keeping one, adding players. So they already added some good players basically with using the draft. So they could be okay with this. And they get a 6th-round pick back to in this scenario. And then the Cowboys go up and get their running back and Bijan Robinson, the best in the class. Tony Pollard coming off the injury. Will we see him right away? And they always valued having the 1-2 punch as well. No more Zeke. They value the running back position, and Bijan could be the best in football right away. That's realistic. That's actually realistic right away, especially with the Cowboys. So they make sure they get even better on offense here. Seahawks go Joey Porter Jr. They could add that lengthy corner to pair with their current lengthy corner and Tariq Woolen, kind of make that elite duo of the future there, maybe right away. Maybe just too good to pass in this scenario. Chargers take Jalen Hyatt. I love this fit of Hyatt to the Chargers. They're looking for another receiver. They have Mike Williams on the outside, contested catch, possession guy. Keenan Allen probably got one more year left with the Chargers, can play in the slot. Good instincts, separation, footwork, obviously that type of receiver. So you add a guy like Hyatt, who's pure speed and deep ball, could actually do a little bit more than that. People don't realize, but which exactly what the Chargers need and exactly what fits Justin Herbert ball over there in L.A. Almost said San Diego in L.A. And Hyatt played the slot, but he played the slot in a wide split offense, so he was lined up pretty wide. So I think he can do both. Keenan Allen plays the slot a lot, but also plays out wide, and then Allen probably gone after one more year. So it kind of helps in multiple ways there. So I love that fit. Ravens go with the quarterback. They got back-to-back Tennessee guys here. Hendon Hooker of Tennessee, who I think could go in the first round because he's just talented. I think he's a safe pick actually, because you know what you're going to get from him. He's consistent. He's pretty balanced across the board. Where he's got the footwork, he's got the accuracy, he's got arm strength. He can escape pressure. He can run if he needs to. And the Ravens, with Lamar, it's just they're sitting around. Could a team get interested after they missed out on a quarterback in the draft? Possibly. Could he end up, playing a one-year deal with the Ravens? Could he end up being on the Ravens but sitting out because of the franchise tag? Possible. But a lot of those scenarios, There's only one scenario where he's the Ravens quarterback and he's the Ravens quarterback for a long term. It's if they reach an agreement on a long-term deal, and that just does not seem like it's going to happen. It could happen. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. All the other scenarios is he signs with another team, or he signs the tag, so he's traded to another team, or he stays on the franchise tag and doesn't play. He stays in the franchise tag and plays, or he signs a one-year deal so he can hit free agency. All these other scenarios are either he's on another team or it's one more year and we do this whole nonsense again and he's maybe on another team then. So, and when are the Ravens going to have an opportunity to take a solid quarterback like this? The quarterback class is so good that it pushes Hooker back. And I'd like him in their offense too. The Vols actually ran some similar things to what the Ravens run as well. He's not going to be as speedy and run like Lamar. But he can run. They ran like a lot of read option type, some unique plays too. I kind of like what the Ravens do that really worked out well, especially in the red zone. So they maybe grab their quarterback of the future here, maybe right now. So that's something to look out for. This is kind of a perfect scenario for the Vikings. I've talked about this in the past. I think Deonte Banks should go earlier in this. In this scenario, he slipped through a little bit. It's a phenomenal man coverage corner. Those man teams are going to love him. And then the Vikings bring in Brian Flores, who's a man defensive coordinator, obviously, and they brought in Byron Murphy. So that the Vikings went from maybe having the worst cornerback situation to, I think, an above-average one with Murphy and Banks. So this is kind of a perfect situation for Minnesota here. Maybe a receiver would be tempting as well, but or Brian Branch could be tempting. Banks to the Vikings would love that for them. And the Jags, a tough decision here between the two offensive linemen, Dewan Jones, O'Cyrus Torrence, because they can use either. If they kept Jawan Taylor, I think there'd be O'Cyrus Torrence would be the pick here. But they lost Taylor, but they do have Cam Robinson and Walker Little. They both have starting experience. They're both very solid. Could one start at right tackle? The issue is they both, Walker Little has had durability concerns forever. So we'll see if he's a full-time starter. We'll see how that holds up. And then Cam Robinson got hurt last year, and they're both left tackles. So I still think they need that right tackle. Dewan Jones is that right tackle here. So they grab him. The Giants go, we don't see this mocked very often. I think this should be mocked more, the Giants getting a guard, because I love the tackle duo for the future. I love Andrew Thomas already. Evan Neal, I think, has got a bright future. The interior is pretty rough, actually. They probably played better than how they look on paper, but a couple of these guys aren't going to be around forever either, like Glowinski. So O'Cyrus Torrence, who's been getting a lot of buzz lately as well. This could be a guard that goes earlier than you think. He could go in the teens for sure. I think it's a safe pick. I think he'll fit Dayball's offense. So the Giants go with the guard here. Buccaneers traded back, got some extra picks. The Cowboys, they take Michael Mayer, best tight end in the class, to replace Brait, I suppose, and get him in there for Baker. They could use multiple things, obviously, so you start here. And the Bills go Brian Bruzzi, defensive tackle from Clemson. So Ed Oliver, they didn't get him a new deal. Was he worth a new deal? I guess it depends on the price. Could be done after this year. There's been some trade talk, but that would help the Bills clear some space as well, which could help, I suppose. So they grab another D tackle, get better at that position. Maybe just too good to pass. The Bengals go with the running back here, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think this would be fun in that offense. His pass catching ability, his ability to run the ball as well. Guy for Joe Burrow, kind of dump the ball off to. Just really everybody stretches the defense out, like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they all really complement each other very, very well here. They lost P. Ryan. I know they have a couple running backs that can catch the ball, Chris Evans, but you get a lot better here. And then Mixon is going to be around for one more year, if that. I seen like a quote, like it was like for now the Bengals said he's with, like right now he's with us. Like, so it's almost like it wasn't like, yes, Mixon's our guy this year. So that was a little interesting. And again, I think they're gonna move on from him after this year if he's on the team this upcoming year. So Gibbs would be really fun in that offense. Saints go Isaiah Foskey. I'm bumping Isaiah Foskey back up. I think there's such a good amount of solid pass rushers, like around the same talent range here. But I think for some reason Foskey's kind of getting lost in that a little bit. He had a fantastic combine, super athletic, pretty balanced type of pass rusher across the board. Very good getting after the quarterback, but very solid stopping the run as well. I mean, broke the Notre Dame record for sacks. That means something there. Saints looking for another edge rusher. I think they'll like Foskey. I think he's the guy that should go in the late first. Brian Branch, very solid C.J. Gardner-Johnson replacement here. Listed as safety and can play safety, but very dominant from the slot here, specifically in man coverage. So Eagles grab Branch, who could go earlier. He's kind of moved down just because the combine wasn't bad, but the combine wasn't like wow. Maybe people are moving him down a little bit too much. And then Felix and DK Uzama, Kansas State pass rusher, goes to the Chiefs at 31. Another pass rusher, him and Foskey, that I think could sneak into the end of the first round. Shouldn't really be too surprising. But Uzama is a very solid 4-3 end that would fit the Chiefs. Pair him in there with Karlaftis. They do have a Menahu now as well, but no more Frank Clark. But could they bring Frank Clark back? A possibility. But I like the upside with Uzama here too. Physical and really good get off too. And now we can move on to the second round. And again, the third round will be for our Twitter subs on Twitter. Second round, every time I make these mocks, more and more, I realize, like, all right, I don't think there is that many elite prospects at the top. I think most drafts actually have more, maybe a few more. But this draft it's pretty deep in, with talent in round 1 and round 2. I think there's a lot of first round talented players that are going to go around this range in round 2. And there's going to be round 2 talents that go in 3 and 4. So that's the good part about this draft. You start to realize that when you made the mock, the players that are here still. We only had 2 receivers go in the first because the other talent, so some started to slide. But Julius Brents, who could go in the first, Kansas State corner, Steelers add him. You like the length on, maybe the Steelers can start to play a little bit more zone, which Brents fits a little bit, but you do like his upside of man. Zay Flowers, who very well could be a first round receiver, goes to the Texans at pick 33. Pair him up with Bryce Young. Will McDonald, I think, could go in the first round. I think Iowa State, they kind of playing him out of position a little bit, because they had like a 3-man rush, and he played inside, hand the dirt a bit, but did stand up and rush a bit as well, which I think he's better at. Jonathan Mingo, which I've been hyping up, and now is starting to finally get a little bit more buzz. A shot he can go in the first round. And it's a big body slot receiver that also can play on the outside. Really good after the catch. Really good strong hands. The Colts are looking for a receiver. They have a type when it comes to receiver. I think Mingo could be their type there. So they add him in the mix for maybe their future quarterback. In this case, we have Levis. Steve Avila, a guard from TCU, a guy that's getting some talk that could sneak in the first round. The Rams grab a guard there. Jordan Addison, which is mocked in the first round quite a bit, which very well could still go first. But in this scenario, he slides a little bit. The Seahawks grab him, add him in with Lockett and Metcalf would be something else. But yeah, Addison, the issue with him, I mean, it's not really a huge issue, but because he's very, very good, gets separation, makes big plays. But yeah, he's an outside receiver that's a little undersized. How will he be against press coverage? And something like Zay Flowers is kind of the same kind of things pop up. But we've seen him play a bit in the slot, and he's really good there. So you just take Flowers, put him in the slot. Addison, will he be as good in the slot? If you have to put him there. That's kind of the question with him. Keely Ringo, cornerback from Georgia, could go in the first round. He slides through a little bit. Raiders grab their corner of the future. Panthers grab Cam Smith, a guy that's getting some late first round talk as well. I like him on the outside, but we've seen some good play on the inside. I could pair him with former South Carolina corner J.C. Horn in Carolina. Next group of picks, Quentin Johnston slips through a little bit. A lot of people are kind of locking him in the first round. I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I'm kind of confident he goes in the second round, actually. There's a lot to like. He's big. He's really fast for a big guy. He's really good after the catch. The issue is TCU stuck him on one side of the field. He ran about 2 routes. He's not as great as a contested catcher as you might think, and he doesn't get the crazy separation that you look for. It's a risky pick. It's kind of a boomer bust guy that's got a lot of work to do, I still think. But the Saints could like him at pick 40. Dalton Kincaid could go in the first round. Hasn't been able to work out because of an injury, so that could slide him through a little bit. Titans grab him. Jets got back-to-back picks now, but one could be traded for Aaron Rodgers to go Mozzie Smith, that nose tackle that they're looking for. Mozzie Smith come in and stop the run right away. I think he's got upside with getting that pass rush production from the interior. And then Josh Downs, who I like a lot. I have a first-round grade on Josh Downs, actually. But I think he could slip through the second just because I think teams might be waiting to the second to take a receiver because there's a lot of good talented receivers here and there's other talented players in the first round. But the Jets trade Elijah Moore. This could be the Elijah Moore replacement. I know they might bring in OBJ. But they would move on from Corey Davis then. Not a whole long list of needs for the Jets. It just feels like they're just looking to add more and more receivers to stack this thing up for Aaron Rodgers and win right now. And then Mecole Hardman, only on a 1-year deal. He's had the injury concerns, so you get Downs in there. I like Downs a lot. I mean, he come in and dominate the slot right away like he did at North Carolina. He's super explosive off the ball. He's super quick. Footwork is ridiculous. He can run routes. He can get open. He's got the speed, but he's super underrated in terms of a contested catcher. He will go up and get the ball. So this guy is very underrated. Parker Washington I love as well. I got a chance of watching him more. I think he'll go in the second round. This is a guy that you can get screen passes to, slants to. He's dominant after the catch. He's built like a running back in the lower half where he's very tough to bring down. But I see the upside in terms of him just being a natural receiver down the field as well. I think he'll be better in the NFL. I think Arthur Smith and the Falcons will like him a lot. Darnell Washington, who I think could go in the first as well because big body guy. I mean, he's a freaky guy and he can block. But the Packers would like him. Cedric Tillman has been pretty underrated as well. I think a safe pick when we're looking for an outside receiver. I think you know what you're going to get. He's really good on like comeback routes, like just working the sticks, getting the first down. That's where he's really good. I think the Patriots would like a guy like that in the outside. Commanders get Jack Campbell to replace Cole Holcomb. I think a safe pick around these parts too. Like you know what you're going to get from Jack Campbell, like a pretty technically sound, physical linebacker. Who's more athletic than you give him credit for than what people give him credit for. Next group of picks, Keion White, I mean, could be a first-round pick, and he ends up sliding in this scenario. I mean, he can go in the middle of the first round because it's a big guy that used to play tight end, so he has a lot of upside at the edge rush position that you also can move inside if you absolutely need to, but I like him on the outside. A lot of upside, could stop the run, so he could go that early because of that, but he could be a little bit of a project. He's a little bigger than what the edge rushers are today, so he could slide because of that. But the Lions would take him here, so they add Cansey on the inside, White on the outside. Adi Boruwe, defensive line from Northwestern, he's a freaky dude. The issue with him is he long enough to play off the edge? Is he physical enough to play inside? We know he's athletic enough to do whatever. I think he's physical enough to play 3-4 end. Which I like at 4-3 end, I like at 3-4 end, I like at 4-3, like a 3 technique D tackle. But in this case, 3-4 end for the Steelers. Anton Harrison, who could go late one, he slides. I mean, we see the depth of usually when people say this class is deep, it's usually people mean at day 3 you're going to be getting guys like pretty good guys like 3rd round guys in the 4th round or 4th round guys in the 6th or even 7th round. I don't really know if this class is like that. I think it's deep in terms of you're getting 1st round players in the 2nd round, you're getting 2nd round players in the 3rd and maybe 4th. So that's why I really like this class. Harrison ends up sliding through, and the Bucs grab their tackle to pair it with Tristan Wirfs. Another tackle, Matt Bergman from Syracuse, who could be a plug-and-play starter for the Dolphins in their first pick here. They could use another tackle, specifically right. Seahawks maybe could be done with linebacker because they added Devin Bush, and then Bobby Wagner very recently, and they have Jordan Brooks. 1-year deals for Wagner and Bush. Simpson you can get creative with as well. It'd be just too good to pass. I like the fit there. So still, and they already added so many needs too. They still could go with linebacker. Bears get their center, John Michael Schmitz. Really depends on the plan though. They could put Cody Whitehair back to center. They could give Lucas Patrick a go as well. Or they can just get better right now. I think it's a good fit what they're trying to do at the center position. Chargers get a running back, whether Eckler's there or not. Zach Charbonnet could definitely help them out, the UCLA running back. Lions grab their linebacker, Drew Sanders, off-ball linebacker that can blitz. I'm having a hard time. I think somebody's going to – I don't know what's – and it says L.A. The graphics guy put L.A. instead of linebacker. It's not Los Angeles, linebacker. But – my issue is he's a solid off-the-ball linebacker. He misses a lot of tackles, though. He has some reps getting after the quarterback, whether it's blitz or off the edge. I might put him with the edge rushers. I think he'll be better as an edge rusher. He misses too many tackles off the ball. But the Lions could get creative with him, blitz him quite a bit. They blitz Anzalone who they brought back, but they blitzed him quite a bit last year. And then Derek Hall for the Jags could use another stand-up edge rusher there. Giants get Darius Rush, who's a really good really solid press corner, man coverage corner, which the Giants are looking for. Sam Laporta for the Cowboys, tight end from Iowa, physical, your typical Iowa tight end. Maybe not as good as Hawkinson and Kittle, but he maybe has that upside. Luke Whippler, interior offensive line from Ohio State. This would be good for the Bills because he could start for them right away at guard. I know they brought in McGovern and they have Bates. Those are decent guys that could be replaced, but maybe those guys start at guard. But Whippler could play center as well. And Mitch Morse, been very good for the Bills, but maybe the end is nearing for him with Buffalo, so it kind of helps you multiple spots. Bengals did sign Irv Smith, which I like the upside of that signing, but he's been disappointing, but he's been injured as well. They're going to need somebody else. I think Musgrave's a really good fit, athletic tight end there. Bears go Zach Harrison, the edge rusher from Ohio State. This guy's not getting talked about enough. A lot of upside. He could go in round 2. He's a physical guy, but he's very lengthy, very athletic, which people don't realize. Didn't have a whole bunch of sacks in college. I think more is coming here. I think he would fit the Bears, what they're looking for at the edge position. And then Deion Henley, former safety turned linebacker. We can kind of see how that play style there with that. A lot of upside to linebacker position. Fun tape, and the Eagles grab him and replace their linebackers that they lost. And the Chiefs go Antonio Johnson, DB from A&M. A slot guy / safety, can help them in multiple areas. It's a type of guys the Chiefs continue to draft every year, and you get a pretty good, valuable one here. The Chiefs tricky because they could use a receiver to replace Juju. So they could have done that in the first round, possibly. Do they move around a bit? Do they trade a bit? They could use that right tackle. They would have to either move up, in the first to get that right tackle, or up in the second round to get one of those guys that went. Harrison, guys like that. So the Chiefs are an interesting team here, what they could do. But that'll do it for my updated mock. Third round will be on Twitter for Twitter subs. A bunch of extra content for anybody that just follows us on Twitter. We do have a TikTok now. You can follow that. Links pinned in the comments for that. We have full NFL draft content. We've been putting out a little bit of film here on Twitter and then with the shorts. More to come. Still got to get through my position rankings. So very busy, but I can't wait for that NFL draft. We live during day 1 here on YouTube and then on Twitter day 2 and 3. So make sure you join us on both pages there. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. You guys know the drill, but that will do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.